Attention passionate Cleveland, BROWNS. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Cleveland Browns' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Cleveland Browns fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Cleveland BROWNS. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, if you've been paying close attention to the NFL landscape lately, you've probably heard some buzz about the Cleveland Browns, and it's not just the usual off-season chatter. No, there's a palpable sense that the team is positioning itself for something bigger, a real shot at contention, and some recent developments could be game changers. And we're going to dive into all of that, from player situations to roster moves, to what it all means for Cleveland's future. But first, let's set the stage, because the Browns are at a fascinating crossroads right now, balancing a mix of veteran leadership, young talent, and some intriguing questions about how they're going to approach this upcoming season. As we all know, Cleveland has been on a roller coaster over the past few years. The team, historically known for its passionate fan base and a loyal city that's endured plenty of heartbreak, finally seems to be on the rise again. Last year, they showed flashes of brilliance, especially on the offensive side, with quarterback Deshaun Watson returning to form after a turbulent couple of seasons. The defense, traditionally a stronghold, also looked promising at times, but consistency has been an issue. That's why every move, every player signing, and every locker room report carries so much weight for Browns fans. Speaking of players, let's talk about a name that's been making waves, Diontae Johnson. Now, Diontae Johnson is one of those players who, on paper, looks like he should be an elite receiver. He's got the talent, the route-running ability, and the production to back it up. He's been a Pro Bowler and was a key part of the Steelers' offense for several seasons. But as we all know, talent isn't everything in the NFL. Behavior, attitude, and how a player fits into the team culture are just as critical. And that's where Johnson's story gets complicated. Last year, after being traded from Pittsburgh to Carolina, Johnson's frustration with his role and target share boiled over. He openly expressed dissatisfaction with not being utilized enough, which led him to request trades and ultimately seek his release. He then bounced around the league, landing with the Ravens and then the Texans, trying to find a place where he could finally settle and showcase his skills again. But here's the kicker: neither Baltimore nor Houston decided to keep him past the 2024 season. Why? Because the pattern of behavior persisted. Johnson admitted himself that his 2024 season was a humbling experience, and he recognizes that he's got to change if he wants to stick around in the NFL long-term. The league, as we know, is unforgiving when it comes to attitude and locker room chemistry. Coaches and GMs need players who can be dependable, team-first guys, especially when their talent alone isn't enough to keep them employed. Johnson's issues with toxicity in Pittsburgh, where he was considered a bit of a troublemaker, followed him to Carolina, and it's been no different in Baltimore and Houston. The frustration over playing time, the complaints about cold weather, and the locker room conflicts all paint a picture of a talented player who's battling to get his act together. This is where Cleveland fans need to pay close attention. Because if Johnson can somehow get his act straight, he might still have a place in this league, and maybe even in Cleveland. And why not? The Browns are currently in a bit of a receiver quandary. After trading away Amari Cooper last October to the Bills, Cleveland found itself in need of reliable pass-catching options. Cooper, despite being 30 years old, remains a valuable receiver in the NFL, evidenced by the Bills giving up a third-round pick to acquire him. He's a seasoned veteran who still commands respect and produces when on the field. Last season, Cooper caught 72 passes for over 250 yards and scored 5 touchdowns, despite sitting out the final game of the regular season. And even though he's unsigned right now, the team clearly recognizes his value, and Cleveland's offense could benefit immensely from a player with his experience and chemistry with quarterback Joe Flacco. Now, if Flacco manages to win the starting job coming out of training camp, which is very much a possibility given his familiarity with the system and the rapport he's built with Cooper, the chemistry between these two could be a crucial factor for Cleveland's passing attack. But the question is, will Cleveland look inside their own locker room for help? There's talk about a possible reunion with Amari Cooper, and it's not just idle speculation. NFL insiders, including Logan Ulrich from NFLTR, have pointed out that Cleveland's receiver depth is shallow right now, and bringing back Cooper might be a smart move, especially considering how effective he was just a year ago. It would be a bit of an awkward reunion, given that the Browns traded him away less than a year ago, but in the NFL, things happen fast, and trades are often just business decisions made in the moment. Of course, the Browns aren't just looking at past stars, they're also trying to build for the future. That means integrating young players like Cedric Tillman, who showed promise last season, and seeing how new additions can develop. But what's really critical is the attitude and mindset of the team's veteran players. Cleveland's front office and coaching staff are emphasizing discipline, accountability, and team chemistry. They know that talent alone doesn't win championships. It's about the collective effort, the chemistry in the locker room, and the resilience to overcome adversity. That brings us back to Diontae Johnson. The potential return of a player like Johnson hinges on whether he's willing to embrace that team-first mentality. If he can shed the baggage of his past frustrations, demonstrate humility, and show that he's committed to the Browns' goals, he might find himself back in Cleveland. But make no mistake, Cleveland's coaching staff will be watching closely. Mary Kay Cabot, a trusted voice in Cleveland sports journalism, has highlighted that Johnson needs to come into camp ready to work, handle coaching well, and be a good teammate. Otherwise, he risks falling into the same pitfalls that have haunted him: complaining, toxicity, and ultimately, the end of his NFL journey. Looking ahead, Cleveland has several factors working in their favor. The AFC North remains one of the most competitive divisions in the league, with Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh all fighting hard for supremacy. But the Browns are putting together a roster that on paper can contend. The offensive line is solid, the defense is adjusting to new schemes, and the coaching staff seems more determined than ever to cultivate a winning culture. They've invested in young talent, made strategic veteran signings, and are emphasizing the importance of character and leadership. The addition of a player like Cooper, or even the potential re-signing of Johnson, if he proves he's matured, could be just the piece they need to push over the top. But it's not just about individual players, it's about the entire team dynamic. Cleveland's front office has learned from past mistakes, and they're aiming to build a roster that combines talent with professionalism and discipline. The offseason moves reflect a desire to create a balanced team capable of competing at the highest level. And with a talented quarterback like Deshaun Watson now more comfortable in the system, the Browns' offense has the potential to be explosive if everything clicks. The defense, anchored by stars like Myles Garrett, is poised to be one of the league's top units, especially if they can get consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Of course, the NFL is unpredictable. Injuries, unforeseen setbacks, and the sometimes harsh realities of team chemistry can alter even the best-laid plans. But for Cleveland Browns fans, the hope is that this season brings stability, growth, and ultimately, a deep playoff run. Whether it's through developing their young receivers, reuniting with a seasoned veteran like Cooper, or finally unlocking the full potential of their core players, the Browns are clearly aiming high. And if Diontae Johnson can turn things around, he might just be the spark that ignites their offense to new heights. Now, as we look around the league and see how other teams are shaping up, it's clear that Cleveland is not just trying to stay in the race, they want to lead it. They're strategic in their moves, cautious but ambitious. They know that every game matters, every play counts, and the mental toughness of the roster could be the difference between making the playoffs and watching from home. The AFC North, as always, will be a battleground, but Cleveland is ready to fight for their spot at the top. So Browns fans, keep your eyes peeled. This season is shaping up to be one of the most exciting in recent memory. With the right attitude from their key players, a bit of luck, and a dash of that Cleveland grit, they might just surprise everyone. The story is still being written, and the chapter ahead could be one of the most thrilling yet. Stay tuned, stay passionate, and remember, this team is on a mission. Whether it's a comeback story for some or a new chapter for others, Cleveland Browns football is back in the spotlight, and it's going to be a wild ride. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Cleveland Browns news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Geo ahead, IT's quick, and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. Looking ahead, the Browns management is clearly aware of what's at stake. They're not just building a team for this season, they're laying the groundwork for sustained success. The NFL landscape is ever-changing, and teams that adapt the fastest, that can address their internal issues and maximize their talent, are the ones that come out on top. Cleveland's front office has shown patience and strategic thinking, and now it's about execution on the field. The coaching staff under Kevin Stefanski is known for its disciplined approach, and if they can foster a culture of accountability and resilience, the Browns could be serious contenders. One of the most intriguing aspects of this upcoming season is how Cleveland will handle their wide receiver core. The absence of Cooper leaves a void, but it also presents opportunities for younger players to step up. The team has invested in prospects like Cedric Tillman, who flashed potential last year, and other young receivers who are eager to make their mark. But seasoned veterans and savvy playmakers will be essential in guiding these young talents and providing stability. That's why the possible re-signing or return of Cooper could be a game-changer, especially given his familiarity with the system and his chemistry with Flacco. And let's not forget about the quarterback situation. Deshaun Watson's development will be critical. After a few tumultuous seasons, he finally seemed to find some consistency last year. If he can continue that upward trajectory, the Browns' offense could be among the league's most potent. Watson's ability to extend plays, make accurate throws, and operate under pressure will be the key to unlocking the full potential of the offensive weapons around him. Plus, the offensive line has looked solid in the offseason, and if they can keep Watson upright and healthy, it's a recipe for success. On the defensive side, Cleveland's unit is stacked with talent. Myles Garrett, one of the premier pass rushers in the league, leads a formidable front that can wreak havoc on opposing quarterbacks. The secondary, with players like Denzel Ward, is poised to improve with added experience and scheme adjustments. The Browns' defensive coordinator has emphasized creating turnovers and applying relentless pressure, which could turn games in their favor. If the defense can maintain its high level of play, Cleveland will be tough to beat, especially in the divisional matchups that are so crucial in the AFC North. Of course, no team is perfect, and challenges remain. Injuries, depth issues, and the mental aspect of the game always play a role. But Cleveland's focus on character, discipline, and team chemistry signals a conscious effort to build a resilient squad. They're not just chasing talent, they're building a culture that can sustain success over the long haul. That's why every move, from draft picks to offseason signings, is scrutinized with an eye toward the future as well as the present. In the end, Browns fans have every reason to be excited. The team's trajectory looks promising, and with a bit of luck and smart execution, they could be the surprise of the league this year. The AFC North is as competitive as ever, with Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh all gunning for supremacy, but Cleveland isn't backing down. They're hungry, they're focused, and they're ready to prove that they belong at the top of the division, if not the entire conference. So as we wrap up today's deep dive into Cleveland's latest news and prospects, remember that this season is more than just a series of games. It's about identity, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. Browns fans, your team is on the cusp of something special, and it's up to all of us to stay passionate, supportive, and loud. The journey continues, and I'll be right here bringing you the latest updates, analysis, and insights. Stay tuned, stay excited, and let's see where this season takes Cleveland Browns football. And now, Cleveland Browns fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Cleveland Browns. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Cleveland Browns news.